Good afternoon. Where are we? 4:35, something like that, in the central part of the United States, up here in northern Minnesota. And the weather's been cold. We've had a rough winter. Let me turn this. I've had my music on. Yeah, there you go. Shh, leave it. Anyway, we had a rough winter here, but finally starting to turn warmer here tomorrow, and it could get to 50 degrees here, which is a big deal. Anyway, beside that, I'm actually doing pretty good here. We made the transition. Only, I think, if you look at my people that are following this or know what I'm doing, uh, these four pieces with the red dots, or five pieces, one, two, three, four, five. These five pieces right here with the red dots on them are the last of the magenta glass. And let's see, I'm working on this area here right now, and I did not mark the pieces that are magenta with a red dot because I was kind of in another area. I do have them marked here with a red dot. So I marked the main pattern. And we're getting down to nitty gritty here. There's headed toward the bottom here. Boy, am I glad to see the bottom of this thing. I'm starting to get a little burned out on cutting and grinding. But let's see, where are we? Okay, anyway, we're in the transition to the blues now, and there are numerous different shades of blue here. And I don't even know how many pieces this is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would be 30, 120. There's 120 pieces of glass right there, and that's the most I've ever prepared to go to the grinder at one time. That's many hours of grinding right there, and a whole lot of sawing on the ring saw. And this, if you'll look up here, this, bear in mind that this is a real intense LED light, and it's not going to be indicative of what the lamp is going to be actually lit with. And then over here, let me put this computer down. Over here, I've got fluorescent tubes under this light box. And so this is a little more subtle, but even that is a little intense for what the ultimate, there's three light bulbs that'll go in this lamp. And there are so many different ways to light one of these lamps. So my clients got a lamp similar to this one, not a Wisteria, but a trumpet creeper. And he has changed the lights on that trumpet creeper several times to get it to look the way he wants to. And that's what you do if you're fortunate enough to have something like this. Anyway, quite a bit of magenta, purple, lavender glass. And then we'll make this shift into these different shades of blue. And you, of course, can't see that here. Tomorrow, late tomorrow afternoon, I'll have these all ground out and fit onto all five sections of this. And as a reminder, those people that have been following this lamp pretty close understand that this lamp, in fact, there, I had my finger on the wrong button there. Anyway, there's the lamp itself, and that's a Tiffany original with a little bit different color theme than what I have, although I'm pretty close on down in the bottom of this thing on these purples and lighter, darker blues. I've used lavender up here where they went light up in here. I went into a lavender. This lamp was done in numerous different color configurations. And as best I can read, and there's some Tiffany historians, I doubt that they're following me much. But anyway, there were somewhere beyond 200 of these originally made. And most were made real in the early 1900s, very late 1800s and the very early 1900s. And this particular lamp is more or less the icon of all the Tiffany lamps, at least as far as I'm concerned. And I can assure anybody that has been messing around with building lamps, and there are numerous people on Facebook that do this, some professionally and some more as a hobby. This thing here will definitely give you a workout. Wow. And I've cut a lot of glass in my life, and this thing is in another whole zone. And speaking of that, let's look at a couple of these just crazy pieces. I just found one. Look at this thing. That's just nuts. Little pieces like that. Here's one with some really difficult scallop marks on it. Here's one that's going to be very difficult to cut with a glass cutter because of this scoop up in here. Here's another oddball right there. Anyway, this 120 tomorrow, we'll get on the grinder over here, and I'll get down close on one of these so you can see. Here you go. You can see this, but I've got to grind back down to that dark line, and that's obvious on about any of these. Here you go. So I'm going to grind down back to that dark line on all 5 of those pieces. And again, the reason there are 5 here is because the design on the lamp repeats itself 5 times. And I don't know whether I can show you that on here or not. Yeah, I can, right here. See that leaf configuration right there? That's going to be one section of that lamp. And there that same leaf configuration is again. And that leaf configuration there is one that I have right here. So the design will repeat itself 5 times all the way around. I'm expecting the base and the crown to come in sometime after the first of the month. My goal is to finish up cutting this thing by the end of this month, and I think I'm on a pretty good schedule to do that. I think I've got about 10 days left if there's no hang up here somewhere, or I fall out or something. I don't know. I'm old, but I'm actually able to work a lot. And my sister follows my work. Well, I have 2 sisters that follow my work quite a lot. One of them is into mosaic. She was asking me yesterday about my hands, and man, I don't know. I wish I could tell you. But at this age, after this many years, I don't know why they work as good as they do, but there's no arthritis, no stiffness or anything. And I just keep working. I got a lot of blue on my hands from the ink that I used to mark these up with. So anyway, and I stand on my feet here all day, every day. And I think this is day 42. I believe that's right. Day 42 of working on this particular lamp. And I think when I get this thing cut out, I'm going to take a couple of days and just sit in a chair, if that's possible. I'm generally not too good at doing that. Oh, and one thing I did want to mention here, and I talked about the vintage glass that we're using here. The bulk of all of, in fact, all of the lavender, I think I'm going to make a correct statement. Yep, all of the lavender is Ouroboros glass, which the company's been out of business for several years now. And they didn't go out of business because people didn't like the glass, but the owner of the company got up around my age, and then they were out of Oregon, Washington, Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And the state got all wild and crazy about environmental issues and making the glass itself. And rather than change the factory and conform to all the state laws that were going to be put into place, he just decided to, fold it up, sell part of it, and leave. So, or shut it down. So I had a considerable amount of that Ouroboros glass because it was one of my favorites to work with. And so this purple glass is from 1998. I have about 3 sheets of that. And then the other day I was looking in the blues that we're working with. Check that out. Now you can see I was looking for a lighter color over in this section here, and then it gets darker. And there's another light area right there. So I can move back and forth on just this section, and I cut this piece here off of this sheet right here. And so I can get down over here and get into some softer glass. Down here I can get into some dark, and we're starting to really head toward purple, which is what I was actually trying to do. And I did find the sticker. Let me find it here. I hope I'm on the right. Yeah, there it is. There's the sticker on it right there, 1998. So this is actually pretty key because you're using glass here that's nearly a quarter of a century old. It's not made anymore. Now there's another company out in Pennsylvania that's making a line of Ouroboros knockoff, or supposed to look like some of the different sheets of Ouroboros that were so popular. But this is the real thing here. This is some old glass. There's the Ouroboros sticker. And for people that are in this business that I'm in, and people that have been in the glass business for, 15, 20, 30 years, this stuff is just gold. You can't get it anymore. So I can't think of a better place to put it than in a real high-end project like this. And it is some beautiful glass. There's no doubt about that. Well, anyway, that's all I wanted to do was catch you up. I'll probably come back here in about 5 or 6 days, and I get these blues onto the light table, and you'll start to see this thing really form up. We're working right now that, in fact, all of this glass right here is going to be in this area here, which is this area here. And you can see where I've started a transition from the lavenders up in here into this blue. A little bit of blue right here, some blue there. And I have added, in addition to this Ouroboros piece here, and key places, let me brush this off a little bit. In key places here, I've added a little bit of this, with just that green tint, just a little bit of that. And there's some lighter areas there. And that's awfully, compatible with this glass here. So that's going to look pretty good, because in nature, of course, there are different color variations and stuff. So that's going to look good. And some of this glass here, and in fact, there's some of the glass that has a little bit of that green in it. Here's some more here. There's some more there. So I've added that real carefully in because, although we're showing the leaves and the branches here, in a wisteria vine, there's leaves and stuff all over the place. So we're getting a kind of a little tint or a little hint of the green that's in the blue along the way here. Not too much, but just a little bit. So what we'll do here, I'm transitioned here from the lighter blues, a little bit of green, and I get down to here now. I'm going to start going into the darkest near purple blues that I have all along the bottom of the lamp. And I'm getting ready to make that shift. And in fact, that's why I cut this section here out, because I can get these darker colors. So I worked on where we are now in the upper part, transitioning from this lighter color. And then as we get on down toward the bottom of the lamp, we'll start working these darker colors in here. Man, that's some beautiful glass. I'm so fortunate to have this stuff. Anyway, I think that's all I have. And man, I'm generally not really tired, but I've been pounding this thing pretty hard over the last week. And so right now, well, I don't think I'm as tired as my eyes are tired. But I think I say this once in a while on my Facebook page, this is some good medicine for old people, because I'm always trying to figure out what's the next step here. It keeps your mind real sharp. And, gee, when you can stand and work for what's 42 days? 7 weeks, or 6 weeks. 6 weeks straight, and I've got a long way to go. But once I get past this cutting and grinding, so I got to turn right around now and grind every single one of these pieces. And I'm about to try to get out of here, but let's look at, yeah, here you go. See that piece there? Well, you can come over to the grinder. Let me turn this light on. Come over to the grinder. You can grind, and this is what happens. I can grind here and around the back side and around here, but I can't grind it there because the radius, this hub here, is too big. So you've got to come over here, and I've mentioned this before on a couple of videos before. You got to come over here and get that ground out right there. So it's kind of a hassle, because you're 5 pieces over here to grind, and then turn right around, come over here and do them again before you can ever get them onto there. And that's just one piece. Oh, goodness. I'll have to figure out where I got this thing. There it is, right there. Yeah. So anyway, my method, I'll go over this one before I get out of here. My method is that I figure out which area I want to work in here, and I'm trying to balance these colors and think ahead of, I wanted to go into the lighter blues here and left myself open to get into the darker blues down here. There are, like I said, just a little bit of the magenta purple glass mixed very lightly into here. And so my plan now is to come finish this area here, which is all of these. And then I think I'll come back over here and work the last few pieces of the magenta in, then come back up here and I'll probably take this area here all the way down and come back and forth working to try to get these, you know, darker blues the way I want them. But you figure out what you want to do on this master drawing here, and then come over here, and you got to take an X-Acto knife. Oh, somebody asked me this question, so I'm going to answer it. You come over, let's put this down where we can see it. All right. You can see that, well, maybe I'll get it up where in the air where you can see, there you go. You can see that I have this, looks like netting here. Well, what we're really doing right here is I'm cutting this out with an X-Acto knife like I have in my hand, and I'm cutting on the inside of that dark line to get that piece of, this is Mylar. Holds up real good underwater. So anyway, I get this Mylar piece out. What in the world? This stupid phone is acting up on me. There it is. I get this Mylar piece out, and I transfer that onto a piece of glass, like this, and I draw around it with this felt tip. I'm just repeating some stuff I've repeated on previous videos, right? I get that drawing on there, then I come back with this diamond scribe, and I scribe around that dark line, the inside of that dark line. And then I come to the ring saw, and the reason I'm using the ring saw, look at these cutoffs here. The reason I'm using the ring saw is, well, one reason is these pieces are so oddly shaped, but using the ring saw, I can set that pattern on a color, and get that color exactly the way I want it for that piece, and then just saw that out of that piece of glass. I'm certainly not using my cutting skills. Normally when you were cutting stained glass windows, we're using a, where is it? I had it, there it is. We're using this is my favorite cutter right here. This is a Silberschnitt 2000. That is a fantastic cutter, made in Germany. Anyway, that's what I'm using to cut glass with. I used to use, and I still do a little bit, I did 40 years with one of these, which is a good glass cutter, but I really like this one better. So anyway, you can see here that we don't lack much getting down to the bottom of this thing. There we are. Now that does show up on the light pretty good. Let me get this piece of glass out of here. There we go. So that shows you what I have left. So actually that's probably 10 days worth of work right there. Maybe a little bit less. I'm hoping less. But anyway, still got a ways to go. But I'm sure feeling good to get down into, out of, you know, mixing up 2, 3, 4 colors, because I got light magenta, dark magenta, and then I had blue, light blue, dark blue, and all these things that I had to pay such close attention to all throughout the window coming down. So every single piece, there are actually 1,945 pieces. Every single piece was picked out in particular on these colored sheets for a certain spot on that lamp. And so I've put the effort into really making this something. And I can't imagine, boy, this thing is going to be a knockout when it's finished up. So anyway, now I'm going to try to get out of here. So I appreciate your interest. If you have any questions, be sure and ask me. I'm always around. And thank you so much. I'll talk to you here in a few more days. And when I come back this next time, we're going to have quite a bit of the blue worked in, and you'll be able to see the transition from the magentas on into the darker blues. Bye now. Thank you.